Hello and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are putting the concept of family on the operating table. And I don't mean the Hallmark movie version of family, where everyone wears matching sweaters and laughs over a perfectly roasted turkey.
No, not at all.
I mean the real messy, intricate, sometimes hilarious, and often deeply painful version of family that I think most of us actually recognize.
Absolutely. And for that, we're diving into the collection This Is Not About Us by Allegra Goodman.
We are.
And it's a fantastic choice for a deep dive because this book is, well, it's deceptive.
It really is. How so?
Well, it looks like a collection of short stories on the surface, but it functions much more like a disassembled novel or maybe like a mosaic.
A mosaic. I like that.
We're looking at the Rubinstein-Eisen clan, a sprawling, multi-generational Jewish family in the Boston area and, beyond. And what's so compelling here is that because of the structure, these linked stories, we get to see the same events and the same people from totally different angles.
Exactly. It's like a literary cubism. In one story, a character is the villain, or at least, the source of everyone's migraine.
Right.
And in the next story, you are inside their head, seeing the world through their eyes, and suddenly you understand exactly why they're doing what they're doing.
You get it. You might not agree with it, but the logic, their internal logic, becomes undeniable.
Which is the essence of family dynamics, isn't it?
It's the whole thing. And the central premise we're going to explore today is that this isn't just a biography of a specific family, it's a case study. It's a study of how grief and expectation and love manifest in very specific, tangible ways.
Tangible is the right word.
We're so used to thinking of love as a feeling, but in the Rubinstein-Eisen clan, love shows up as baked goods.
Oh, definitely baked goods.
As musical instruments, as eyewear, and yes, as passive-aggressive comments made during a holiday dinner.
Oh, the passive aggression is absolute top tier in this family.
It's an art form.
It really is. So our mission for this deep dive, then, is to map out this emotional geography. We have 3 distinct generations to cover.
Right. 3 layers.
We have the matriarchs, the sisters who run the show with an iron fist or, I don't know, maybe an iron spatula.
An iron spatula is perfect.
Yeah.
Then you have the squeezed middle generation who are dealing with divorces, aging parents, their own identity crises.
The classic sandwich generation.
Totally. And then we have the grandchildren who are trying to figure out who they are in a world that feels very different from the one their grandparents built.
And throughout this mapping, we are going to analyze this recurring theme of care.
Yeah, and that's a big one.
Because in this family, and I think in many families, care is so complex, it can be a weapon.
It can be a shield, it can be a burden. We see care being given aggressively, rejected stubbornly, and sometimes just, forced upon people who didn't ask for it.
And we'll track this through some very specific symbols: a violin, an apple cake, a pair of eyeglasses, and my favorite, a fairy tale about a swan princess.
I love the symbols. They're like little anchors in the story.
They really are. And I want to do a quick tone check before we jump in. Because while we are dealing with death and hospice and divorce and anxiety, this is actually a very funny book.
It's dark humor, absolutely. But it's the humor of recognition.
Yes. It's that kind of humor where you're fighting over a recipe while someone is literally on their deathbed in the next room.
It's absurd, but it feels incredibly real.
It feels so real. So for you listening, prepare for a journey that feels like sitting at a chaotic holiday dinner where everyone has a secret opinion about everyone else, and you're the only one who can hear them all.
So where do we start?
We have to start at the top. The matriarchs.
The sisters.
We have 3 of them: Helen, Sylvia, and Jean.
Right. And the dynamic is established so clearly right from the beginning in the story, Apple Cake. The setup is, well, it's grim, but it sets the stage for the conflict perfectly.
It does.
Jean, the youngest sister, is dying. She has lung cancer. She's in hospice care at home in her big Tudor house.
And Jean is interesting because she's always been the baby, but she's the first one to go. She's the music teacher. She's a widow. She's very independent. And then you have Helen and Sylvia looming over her.
Oh, they are looming. Helen is the oldest. She is the general.
The general.
The text describes her as bracing. She likes plans, she likes order, she likes lists.
Total control.
Total control. Sylvia is the middle sister, who is a bit more dramatic, a bit more needing a validation. She's the one who feels things loudly.
So Jean is dying, and the family just descends upon her. And this is where we see what you could call the politics of grief kick in.
That's a great way to put it.
Because Jean just wants peace. She wants to listen to classical radio. She wants the lights low. I mean, she basically wants to be left alone to die.
But her sisters cannot allow that. They need to do something. And since they can't cure her cancer, what they do is battle for narrative control over her death.
A battle for narrative control. I love that.
Helen wants a plan for the burial and the rabbi. Sylvia wants emotional moments and reminiscences to be the star of the grief show.
But the real battlefield, I mean, the nuclear testing ground of this family is the kitchen.
Oh, yes.
This is the baking war. I found this so relatable and so painful. Helen, the oldest, she decides her role is to feed the family.
But look at how she feeds them. This is so crucial. Helen bakes in bulk. She makes lemon squares, brownies, and these like rock-hard pecan bars.
And what does she do with them? These the key detail.
She freezes them.
She freezes them immediately.
Immediately. It's symbolic. It's a martyrdom of labor. The text actually says, she grieved from scratch.
Wow.
That line just stops you in your tracks. She wants credit for the work, for the suffering of baking. She wants to be able to say, I made hundreds of cookies for my dying sister.
Right. Look how much I've done.
But the result is these cold, hard, unappetizing things that nobody actually wants to eat. It's care as a frozen asset.
It's almost like she's feeding them her own stoicism. Like, here, eat this frozen brownie. It will help you stiffen your upper lip.
That's a great way to put it. It's care as a burden. You have to work to eat it. You have to thaw it out first.
But then comes Sylvia.
Yes, then comes Sylvia.
Sylvia hasn't baked in years because her husband is diabetic, but she senses an opening here.
She sees a market gap in the grief economy.
A market gap in the grief economy. That's perfect. She swoops in with a fresh, warm apple cake. And the kicker.
It's Helen's own recipe.
Her own recipe.
But she executes it better. Jean even says it from her deathbed. I like hers better.
Oh, the cruelty.
And Sylvia also brings jelly rolls with apricot and coconut. It's all about freshness, sweetness, and immediate gratification.
And the family, the grandsons, the nephews, everyone milling around the house, they devour Sylvia's food.
Of course they do. They leave Helen's frozen bricks untouched in the freezer. And there's this one devastating moment.
I know exactly the one you mean.
Where Helen catches her own husband, Charles, throwing away a paper plate after eating Sylvia's cake.
It's a betrayal. It's like it to Charles.
It is, and it highlights that Helen's form of care is about duty and endurance freezing things to last the winter, while Sylvia's is about pleasure and attention.
And in the moment of grief, people want the warmth.
They want the warmth. They don't want the frozen pecan bar. They want the comfort of the now.
And there's also a religious battle going on here that kind of mirrors the food battle.
It does. It's the same dynamic.
Jean is an atheist.
Yeah.
She's very, very clear about this. She wants to be cremated or scattered. She says, cover me with rocks.
Which is such a bleak but very Jane thing to say. It references the Jewish tradition of placing stones on a grave, but she just strips it of all the spiritual context. She just wants the weight of the earth.
But Helen cannot accept this. To Helen, an atheist death is a disorderly death. It's messy, doesn't follow the plan.
Exactly. So what does she do?
She brings in a young rabbi, Rabbi Lieber, who looks about 13 years old to them. And she forces this confrontation.
It's so awkward. You can just feel the cringe through the page. Jean tells the rabbi straight up, I don't have time for organized religion.
And the rabbi is trying so hard. He's very accommodating, trying to be modern and understanding, which just annoys Jean even more.
It really does. But Helen pushes. She just pushes and pushes until Jean finally cracks.
And she says, fine, bury me. I won't mind.
She says it out of sheer exhaustion. She just wants the conversation to end. She wants them to leave her alone.
But Helen takes this resignation, and she frames it as a victory.
Oh, a total victory. She interprets Jean's exhaustion as a last-minute spiritual conversion. It's a perfect example of hearing what you want to hear just to validate your own worldview.
It's all about her.
It's all about her. And then, after Jean finally passes, which takes longer than anyone expects, we get the memorial service. And this is where the sisters' feud really cements itself into family legend.
It goes from bad to worse.
So Sylvia gets up to speak, and instead of talking about Jean's accomplishments or her character, she talks about herself.
Of course she does.
She says, she was my special charge. She talks about dressing Jean as a baby. She is centering herself in the tragedy. She is making the death about her loss of a doll.
And Helen She can't take it. She cuts her off.
She literally walks up to the lectern and interrupts her own sister during a eulogy.
In front of everyone.
In front of everyone, she launches into a speech about eternity and says, I have no monopoly on my sister. It's a public rebuke. It's Helen saying, you are grieving wrong and I will correct you in front of this entire room.
Wow.
And the result is that even while scattering Jean's ashes at Singing Beach, the compromised location they eventually settled on, the sisters are estranged.
They refuse to forgive each other.
Not even then.
Which is just, it's tragic, but it's also that stubbornness that seems to run in the DNA of this family. They would rather be right than be connected.
And that sets the stage for everything else in the book. This inability to communicate, this weaponization of doing the right thing, it all trickles down to the next generation.
So let's go there. Let's move to that next generation, the squeezed middle. These are the children of the matriarchs. And let's talk about Richard, Sylvia's son.
Richard is a fascinating character study. We see him in the story New Frames. He's going through a classic midlife crisis, but the way Goodman writes it, it feels so fresh.
It does.
He's divorced, he feels beaten down by his ex-wife, Debra, and he's dating a much younger woman named Corinne.
And the central metaphor here is his glasses. This is just such a great literary device.
It's brilliant.
Richard's vision is getting blurry. He needs new glasses. And Corinne, the young, fun girlfriend, she picks out these bold black frames for him.
The fearless fly frames, that's what they're called. And when he puts them on, he undergoes this transformation.
He sees himself differently.
Totally. He feels cooler, more European, more authoritative. It's an attempt to literally try on a new identity. He thinks, if I look like an architect or an artist, maybe I won't feel like a failing father.
But the clarity cuts both ways.
Exactly. The new prescription is too good.
It's too sharp.
Way too sharp. He goes home, and suddenly that protective blur he'd been living in is gone. He sees the dust in his house. He sees the water stain on the ceiling. He sees the wrinkles on his mother's face. And most painfully, he sees the sadness in his daughter Lily's face.
He can't hide from the reality of his life anymore, can he? The blurriness was actually a coping mechanism.
That's exactly what it was. He was living in a bit of a fantasy with Corinne, skating by, being the fun dad who forgets coats and skips skating lessons. But the glasses force him to see that his daughter is failing math, that his ex-wife, Debra, is managing everything, and that he is kind of failing them.
And Debra, his ex-wife, is a character we mostly see through his eyes, but she comes across as this force of competence.
She weaponizes competence. That is her version of the matriarchal power. She has custody of the dog, Max, which just kills Richard. She documents everything. But the glasses make Richard realize he can't just resent her for it. He has to step up. Her competence is filling the void of his negligence.
And the outcome of that story is pretty poignant. He goes back to the eyeglass store.
He does. He trades in the cool black frames for rimless ones.
Invisible frame.
Invisible frames. He realizes he can't run away into this new persona. He breaks up with Corinne because, as he tells her, he has to pay attention.
That phrase stuck with me. I have to pay attention.
It's so powerful.
It's the opposite of the blur. It's accepting the hard work of being a father and an adult, even if it's not as fun as being the guy in the cool glasses.
It's a moment of maturity, a quiet one, but a real one. He chooses his daughter over his vanity. He accepts that his life is messy and dusty and difficult, and he has to actually look at it.
Okay, now let's look at the other side of the family. Let's talk about Wendy. She's Helen's daughter.
Wendy is the Wendy bird.
The Wendy bird.
She's the peacemaker, the folk singer, the knitter. In a family of sharp edges and frozen cookies, she is the soft cushion.
And we see this dynamic play out so clearly in the story Wendy Bird through the incident of the pussy hat.
Yes, this story is set right after the 2016 election. Wendy knits a pink protest hat for her sister Pam.
Now we need to understand Pam.
We do. Pam is a high-powered tax attorney. She's cynical, she's depressed, and she is not really a knitted hat kind of person.
Not at all. She's very much her mother's daughter, pragmatic, a little cold.
Right. So Wendy sends the hat. It's an act of love and solidarity in her mind.
Crickets.
Radio silence. And Wendy is just agonizing over it. Did she get it? Does she hate it? Did it get lost in the mail? You can feel her anxiety.
Enter Jill.
Thank goodness for Jill.
Jill is Wendy's wife. And Jill's one of my favorite characters because she is the outsider who sees this family with perfect clarity. She's a cop. She's protective.
And she doesn't have the baggage of growing up in this house. She sees that the family treats Wendy like Santa's little helper.
That's such a good description.
They think she's sweet, but they don't respect her. They patronize her.
So they go to visit Pam, and Jill, being Jill, goes looking for the hat.
And she finds it.
Where does she find it?
She finds it in the dog crate. Pam's dog, Rosie, has completely shredded it. It's just a pile of pink yarn vomit in the corner of the cage.
Oh, my heart just broke for Wendy in that moment. But Wendy doesn't know. Jill finds it. And this leads to this amazing confrontation.
It's a great scene. Jill corners Pam at night. They're drinking Pam's dad's scotch. And Jill just lays it on the line. She effectively acts as the boundary that Wendy cannot set for herself.
What is she?
She basically says, you let your dog eat my wife's work because you don't respect her. And if you don't start treating her with respect, you are going to lose access to the dog.
Because Jill is the one who actually plays with the dog. It's such a specific and perfect piece of leverage.
It is, but it reveals the whole dynamic. Pam tries to defend herself by telling this story about Wendy nursing a stunned bird back to health when they were kids.
Wendy Bird origin story.
Right. And it's meant to show Wendy is sweet, but Jill sees it for what it is. Pam dismissing Wendy as weak or childish.
So does the intervention work?
It does, in a way. Pam sends a forced thank you text later with a photo of a donation to some cause. It's proof of life.
So it's not a heartfelt apology?
No, it doesn't fix the emotional gap. Pam isn't suddenly going to become warm and fuzzy, but it establishes a boundary. Jill protects Wendy from the harshness of her own family.
It's so interesting how the partners Jill, and later on we'll talk about Wyatt, they act as these mirrors or shields for the family members.
They change the chemistry just by being there.
They do. They disrupt the closed loop of the family dysfunction.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's move to the youngest generation, the grandchildren. We've got Phoebe, Lily, and Jamie. These kids are, they're drifting, dreaming, and dealing with a lot of pressure.
A lot of inherited pressure.
Yeah. Let's start with Phoebe in the story, FAQs.
Phoebe is the golden child who has crashed and burned. She's Dan and Melanie's daughter. She was the one who was supposed to succeed. But she drops out of college, breaks up with her perfect boyfriend, Chris, and comes home to sleep for 14 hours a day.
And she inherits Jean's violin.
This is a heavy inheritance. It's not just an instrument. It represents Jean's talent, but also the family's expectation of high culture and success. Phoebe is supposed to be playing concertos in a nice hall.
But instead of playing in a concert hall, where did she take the violin?
She takes it to Penn Station.
Penn
She
Station.
becomes a busker, and this is her rebellion. She's playing Bach, this incredibly complex, structured, mathematical music, but she's playing it over the noise of trains and commuters and announcements. She's dragging the high culture down into the grit of the city.
There's a scene where she eats a donut. And the way it's described, it's like she's eating freedom.
Oh, absolutely. Her parents are health food obsessed. They compost, they eat kale, they worry about toxins. Phoebe eating a greasy, sugary donut in the filth of Penn Station is her way of rejecting their whole curated, healthy, anxious lifestyle.
She was embracing the mess.
She wants to be contaminated by the real world.
And speaking of her parents, Dan and Melanie, they try so hard. They really do.
They do. They are the opposite of the cold matriarchs. They are supportive, they go to therapy, they want to understand, but their support feels like suffocation.
It's almost too understanding.
It is, which brings us to that scene where they find her in the station.
Oh, it's excruciating.
They track her down, and instead of dragging her home or yelling at her, they stand there filming her with their phones.
And they're cheering, "Good job, sweetie," while she's trying to have this moment of anonymous artistry.
Exactly. It's like you can't even rebel without your parents turning it into a proud moment for their social media. They co-opt her rebellion. They validate it until it's not hers anymore.
It's a very modern form of parental pressure, the pressure of constant positive surveillance.
That's it exactly.
Okay, let's talk about Lily. She's Richard's younger daughter. We met her briefly in the Glasses story, but she has her own story called Ambrose.
Lily is in 6th grade, and she is really struggling. She's anxious, she's failing math, and she writes a story within the story of Fairy Tale about a princess named Ambrose who turns into a swan.
And this story she writes is so clearly a metaphor for her life.
It is, completely. Ambrose has 11 sisters and a witch who calls her sweetie but sees everything.
And who's the witch?
Well, it's clearly her mother, Debra, or maybe her strict dance teacher. It's the adult female gaze that's always evaluating her. And Ambrose just wants to fly away. She wants to escape the gaze of the witch.
Lily is so overwhelmed by the pressure to perform. Ballet, math tutoring, therapy. It's such a scheduled life.
There's a heartbreaking line where she tells her dad, "I don't like this century."
That hit me so hard.
It's so profound for a child to say. She feels the weight of the modern world, the constant scheduling, the surveillance, the expectation to be on all the time.
She wants to retreat.
She wants to retreat into a fantasy past, even if, as her mom points out, the past was terrible for women. For her, it represents an escape.
She just wants to be a swan. She wants to escape the witch of expectation.
And she hides. She physically hides. She hides in the bathroom at school. She hides in the bathroom at the dance studio. She is just trying to find a space where she isn't being observed or evaluated. It's a quiet tragedy of a child who feels like a project rather than a person.
And then there's Jamie. She's a cousin we meet in the story, Sheba. She's a dog walker.
And Jamie is seeking meaning. She's religiously curious, even though her family is completely secular. She wants to be good. She takes her job very seriously. She wants to be trustworthy.
Until she makes a mistake.
A big one. She meets a guy, Simon. She gets distracted flirting with him, and she leaves a gate open. And a prize-winning standard poodle named Sheba escapes.
The guilt spiral here is just intense.
Oh, it is. Jamie feels she has betrayed a sacred trust. But the resolution of this story is, well, it's brutal. It's one of the darker moments in the collection. It really shifts the tone from family dramedy to something much sharper.
She finds the dog, right?
She finds the dog with a homeless man in a park. And she expects, I think, a moment of grace. She offers him reward money. She thinks the transaction will be logical and clean.
And it isn't.
It is not. He takes the money and he kicks her.
He kicks her.
He kicks her hard in the ribs. It's a violent physical shock, and it just shatters her naivety. She wanted the world to be a place where if you do good, or at least try to fix your mistakes, good things happen.
And instead?
Instead, she was negligent, and the world was violent in return. It's a coming-of-age moment that is not about finding yourself, but about getting hurt.
It really contrasts with the cozy dysfunction of the rest of the family. This is real-world danger.
It is. It shows that the protective bubble of the suburbs and the family can be popped very, very easily. It reminds us that outside the family arguments about apple cake, there's a rougher world.
Okay, let's move to section 4. Intergenerational collisions. This is where we see these different worlds just crash into each other. And the story Kumquat is a masterpiece of this.
Kumquat is fantastic. It brings Helen, our bracing matriarch, face-to-face with Phoebe, the busking granddaughter.
And it happens at the symphony, of all places. Helen and her husband Charles are in their symphony best.
Yeah.
And they run into Phoebe and her new boyfriend, Wyatt a cellist. And they look like they just rolled out of a van.
Which they sort of have. They are living that nomadic artistic life.
Right. But the real conflict happens later. Phoebe reveals she broke Jean's violin.
The holy relic. The symbol of the entire family legacy.
She broke it while playing Bach. The fingerboard just popped off.
And Helen's reaction is so fascinating. She is horrified. You can hear her gasp, "You glued it." But she steps in. She takes control.
She does. She takes Phoebe to a luthier, and she pays for the repair.
But she can't help herself. She judges Phoebe's lifestyle. She asks about school, about the future. She is so skeptical of the van life. She's asking, essentially, when will you stop playing and start living a real life?
And this is where the title Kumquat comes in. Charles, Helen's husband, tells her she is an acquired taste.
Like a kumquat.
Sour. Bitter.
A little abrasive, intense, you have to get used to it. And Helen has this rare moment of self-realization. She knows she pushes people away. She knows she is bracing.
So what does she do?
Well, she pays for the repair anonymously. Or at least she pays without demanding that Phoebe come back and thank her profusely and listen to a lecture.
She just lets it be.
She does more than that. She watches Phoebe play the restored instrument in the shop, and she hears the talent. She realizes that even though Phoebe's life looks chaotic and irresponsible to her, the passion is real.
It's a moment of bridging the gap.
It is. Helen supports the art, even if she doesn't understand the artist's life.
It's a rare moment of grace for Helen. She realizes that to truly help, she has to step back. The less said, the better, she decides.
Which is very, very hard for a woman like Helen who always has something to say. It's a genuine growth moment.
And finally, we have the ultimate collision. The Passover cedar in the story Redemption Song.
Oh, this is the ensemble finale. It brings everyone together. We have Dan Phoebe's dad, who has inherited his father Irving's anxiety about the holiday.
Dan goes completely manic. He purges the house. He throws away perfectly good food because it's not kosher for Passover, even though they aren't strictly kosher the rest of the year.
He's acting out a trauma response. His father, Irving, used to make Passover this miserable, high-pressure event. And Dan is just repeating the cycle, trying to control the uncontrollable. He thinks if the fridge is clean enough, the holiday will be happy.
When the uncontrollable factor here is that Phoebe and Wyatt are visiting, and they are vegan.
So Dan decides, in a fit of martyrdom, that the entire Seder will be vegan.
The whole thing.
No brisket, no chicken soup, no matzo ball soup.
And he doesn't tell his brother Steve.
No. Steve arrives with his family, expecting a feast. And instead, they get vegan lasagna and a flourless, eggless, dairy-free chocolate cake that disappears in 3 seconds because the teenage nephews are starving.
The tension at this table is just palpable. You could feel it. And Steve starts poking at Phoebe. He asks the question everyone is thinking.
How do you earn a living? It's aggressive. It's a jab. But Dan, who has been judging Phoebe himself privately, worrying about the van, the busking, he suddenly defends her. He snaps at his brother.
It's that tribal instinct, right? I can criticize my kid, but you can't.
Exactly. And the climax of the night.
Oh, the card table.
The card table collapses. It literally buckles under the weight of the wine and the heavy vegan dishes. It's physical comedy, but it breaks the tension. You can't maintain a high-stakes family argument when you are covered in salad and wine.
And then we get this beautiful, quiet moment.
Oh.
The parallel Seder.
The brothers, Dan and Steve, they retreat to the living room. Steve's back hurts. Dan is exhausted. They crack open a bottle of cheap Moscato.
And while the kids and the wives are in the other room singing Bob Marley's Redemption Song, which is a whole other layer of cultural confusion and hilarity, the brothers bond.
They talk about their dad. They remember how their father used to get palpitations during the Seder just to get out of dealing with the stress.
So he could escape.
So he could escape. And they realize they're just trying to survive the holiday, just like he did. They are united in their shared exhaustion.
And they realize that freedom, which is the whole theme of Passover, looks different for everyone. For Phoebe and Wyatt, it's the van and the veganism. For the brothers, it's just getting through the night without a heart attack.
It's a moment of acceptance. They are flawed, their family is chaotic, the food was terrible, but they are together.
So bringing this all together now, the title of the book is This Is Not About Us.
And it's a recurring irony, isn't it? Every single character in this book thinks they are the main character. Helen thinks it's about her management. Sylvia thinks it's about her feelings. Dan thinks it's about his stress.
But the reality is they are all just reacting to one another in this big, messy system.
Exactly. The story isn't about one tragedy or one triumph. It's about the process of family.
The process.
It's about Dan cleaning the fridge, Phoebe practicing scales in a train station, Helen freezing those terrible cookies. It's the daily grind of loving people who annoy you and drive you crazy.
It's the mess of living, really.
And it's about inheritance. We talked about inheriting violins and recipes, but they also inherit anxiety. They inherit judgment. They inherit that specific kind of stubborn love that shows up even when you don't want it.
It really makes you think about your own family.
It does. It forces you to ask, what am I freezing? What am I judging? Who am I in this dynamic?
So I want to leave our listeners with that provocative thought. In your own family ecosystem, who are you? Are you the Helen, the one fixing things but judging everyone while you do it?
Or are you the Phoebe, trying to escape the weight of expectations to find your own art, your own music?
Or are you the Wendy knitting hats and just trying to keep everyone from killing each other?
Or maybe you're the Jill, standing on the sidelines, seeing the truth with clear eyes and protecting the ones you love from the chaos.
Whoever you are, there's probably a little bit of Rubensteinize in there somewhere. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the universe that can be found in a single slice of apple cake.
Just, make sure it's fresh, not frozen.
Absolutely. See you next time.